Hello and welcome to this week's 2-Minute Warning. We're back to a little bit more of a normal schedule because the legislature is actually coming back into session this week on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So as we look forward to what the legislature needs to do and the time they have to actually accomplish it, it's incredibly condensed and could be a completely chaotic situation down here with the legislature, not really knowing what's going to happen. You've got 3 days to try and address a lot of incredibly complicated issues, and we'll just have to see what happens. I personally think that it's 50-50 that the legislature can get all their business done this week. And they may have to come back next week, but we believe that the leaders are motivated to get everything done they can this week, and we'll see what happens. So let's take a look at those very, very big issues that need to be addressed this week. First is the budget. The governor has already talked about $7.3 billion shortfall between this fiscal year and next fiscal year. How do you go ahead and fill that? The big answer appears to be it's going to be borrowing. Maybe directly from the Federal Reserve. They may go to the markets if they can, but you've really got to be worried about a budget that may put us into junk status with the bond rating agencies. So the budget is a huge, huge issue, but that's something that they've definitely got to get done, and we'll know that by Wednesday, because legislation has to move from the Senate to the House very, very quickly in order to go ahead and meet the statutory requirement of 3 days reading in the second House. So we'll know that very quickly on Wednesday whether budget is really going to get done or not. Workers' compensation and unemployment insurance are two very, very important issues as well. Unemployment insurance, we face billions of dollars of a deficit in which we are again borrowing from the federal government to go ahead and pay what we think is billions of dollars of a potential deficit. That's a huge issue out there. We're in negotiations with organized labor and legislature to try and get some kind of decent package in there on the short term that protects frontline folks and that also accesses federal dollars that have been made available, $2.1 billion. So those negotiations are ongoing. We'll see how they go, but unemployment insurance is huge. Workers' compensation is the other. The Illinois Chamber and other business groups would sign off tomorrow on reasonable legislation that would protect frontline workers and say that, hey, if you're a nurse, you're a doctor, you're treating COVID patients, there's a rebuttable presumption that yes, it's a workers' compensation claim. Unfortunately, labor has asked for a whole lot more than that, and we're still working through those negotiations. Let me also then move to reopening, which is where the Illinois Chamber spent an awful lot of time on. We are going to introduce legislation tomorrow that will have an alternate plan to the governor's reopening plan of regionalization and these stages and a very complicated approach. We say anybody that can operate safely should be able to open their doors tomorrow, just like thousands of businesses across the state that are already open and operating safely. If you can go ahead and meet those same safety obligations, you should be able to open and rehire your people as soon as possible. Finally, minimum wage is going to be on the table as well, directly related to the economic crisis that COVID has created here. The governor, I don't believe, is going to go ahead and budge off that 50-cent increase on July 1st, but we do have in play the Chamber's tax credit that will at least soften that blow. So we're hoping to see that advance as well. Finally, the last thing is another impediment to reopening, which is energy costs. We're very concerned that special interests are trying to go ahead and force through energy legislation that would increase everybody's electricity bill, again, making recovery from this recession much, much harder. We're going to be on top of that to make sure that CEJA and any kind of energy cost increases do not pass. I look forward to talking to you as soon as possible.